All right, hello everyone, it is Silver Kyle, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the House of X and Powers of 10 oversized hardcover by Jonathan Hickman, and I am so happy that I have this. I cannot wait to reread this. I did read it over the summer and during the fall in single issues, and I will be doing a size comparison for the regular single issues, which is the size of regular trade paperbacks, versus the oversized art that we have in this hardcover. And yes, this is a second printing because I wasn't reading it at the time. Everybody was freaking out about it. So afterwards, House of X 1 and Powers of 10 1. After that, I got all the regular single issues. And reading this week to week was just such a fun time for me. I absolutely loved it. Just waiting, you couldn't wait to get the next issue to see where the heck they were going with this. And this is basically the new starting point. If you want to get into X-Men and you're not sure where to start and you don't want to go back to like a really long time ago, this is definitely a good starting point because it doesn't reset everything, but a lot of things change from this, and that turns into what we're currently into in this era of X-Men, which is the Dawn of X, which Hickman is basically the overseer of everything. He is writing the X-Men series here, and I think he's also doing New Mutants or maybe Marauders. I think it's New Mutants, but there's basically 6 X titles out right now: X-Men, X-Force, New Mutants, Marauders, Excalibur, and Fallen Angels. And I'm currently collecting and reading the X-Men and X-Force single issues, and this is what got me into getting single issues again for comics. So I'm so happy that now we have an oversized hardcover of this, and I can relive it without looking into the single issues and seeing the oversized artwork, which is absolutely amazing. And what's really nice about this is that the two artists, Pepe Larraz and R.B. Silva, really have very similar art styles, which we'll see as we're going through House of X and Powers of 10 throughout this book. So before we look at this, let's take it out of the shrink wrap because it'll pop a lot more. And I also just recently got in the mail another 2 omnibus that recently came out that I'll be doing overviews for as well. But this is the one there's 2 negatives to this book. One of them is that on the one hand, I really do love this artwork. Like, that is beautiful to me. But they have, like, I think that's specifically exclusive to comic book stores. The direct market cover, it is basically like a 2-page spread that looks absolutely fantastic. That has all the characters that are in this series, and wow, it's amazing. So we have the Marvel logo, House of X, X symbol, Powers of 10. You can't see it as well. I don't know what that is. And it includes the entire series of House of X 1 to 6 and also Powers of 10 1 to 6. So the entire series. And it is in the proper reading order, because basically what would happen is that we would get like House of X 1, then Powers of 10 1, then House of X 2, Powers of 10 2, and then one time it was like Powers of 10 3, and then House of X 3, and they would kind of go back and forth quite a bit, and it is in the proper reading order. So I was really happy about that. Now this is my first time opening it. A little bit about Jonathan Hickman, Pepe Larraz, and R.B. Silva. Like I said, I really like their art styles. And this is the first time, like I said, opening it, so I just want to quickly go through it. All right. Now let's take off the dust jacket. And wow, I don't really think that the video does this justice for the bright orangish red that we get from this, but it is... I saw a video of this. That's a weird mark right there. Let's take that off. And it's really, really bright and vibrant. Okay. Push that off to the side. There we go. Kind of plain, but the colors really pop. You can actually see that's the regular red that they have for the Marvel books. So let's take a peek and see how it lies flat when we're going through it. Now, because this is a Hickman book, from what I've gathered, he does not have it just goes right into it, and we kind of just go through chapters. We do not actually get the covers of all the issues until the very end. Now, if I let that lay flat, well, we get them there, but he doesn't number them. I think it's all in chapters, so you don't actually know if this is House of X or Powers of 10. It just has the different chapters. And we're only just a few pages in, and already it's kind of lying flat a little bit. But, it's a relatively smaller size book. This is not an omnibus by any means. This is like 1/3 of the size of most omnibus, if not a quarter. And I will say, though, that the binding, and we will take a look at that, is glued. It is not sewn, but opening this for the first time, like, we're kind of able to see everything, and there's not really that much gutter loss. Like, obviously, with sewn binding, we would have less. But a book this size, I don't know. This isn't too bad. This is nothing like the DC death traps that we've been getting lately in their omnibus. And a lot of the things that with this book is that we get a lot of explanation that goes much more into detail, that helps you understand everything that's kind of going on with House of X and Powers of 10. I won't necessarily go into it like a crazy amount, but in this you get basically 4 different stories that are kind of happening throughout the books, and sometimes it's confusing, but they do a good job always of letting you know. They'll know at the top which story you're kind of following at that time, and it's good. I don't want to go into spoilers at all for this book, but I do want to do an actual spoiler-filled review at some point, either in just a video of my own, or potentially doing a live stream with a few other people that have read the book, and going into detail about how much we enjoyed this book and what we think of that's happening with currently what's going on with X-Men or Dawn of X, rather. I don't want to obviously see, this is how they kind of show things. It's just chapters. It's not the actual. That is the cover of this one. That's House of X2, I believe, which is chapter 3. So, actually, no, I don't really want to go into too much about that. This is a darn good issue, though. Apocalypse is in here. We don't want to show that. Art in this is just absolutely fantastic, and as you've seen, we've probably gone through a few different issues here already, and I find that the two artists just did such a good job of making this all look so seamless, and the writing for Hickman was just absolutely fantastic. I will say, though, that I enjoyed probably the first few issues of this, like the first half, absolutely my favorite. Even I would say maybe 3/4. How they kind of wrapped things up, I wasn't as enthused. Like, it wasn't as big as the beginning of this series. I really enjoyed the beginning of it, and it kind of winded down a little bit for me when I was reading it the first time. This will be my second run through when I read this oversized hardcover. So I am looking forward to that, knowing everything that I know now, to see if I enjoy it more later on. Now, we'll get to the extras here. All right, so that is the actual covers of the entire series. I think that's all House of X, and I loved these covers. Like, that is amazing. Honestly, those two are excellent as well. And I love Magneto in his white suit. He just looks so badass, I find. And then this is Powers of 10. Also excellent covers. But then I didn't really care for these two. I didn't care for those two. Those are just kind of meh for me. And then all the variants. Now, I did want to do a comparison quickly of House of X1. I just wanted to quickly go through. That is the direct market cover that you get if you get it in comic book shops. Had I known that at the time, I probably would have ordered it through them instead of Amazon, because look at that. That is beautiful. I really would have liked that. That's a cool one too. And I think there's just a few sketches, and there we go. All right, so let's look at the binding real quick. So, like I said, glued binding. So it kind of lays, like there's no eye at all there. What is that? I thought it was, I think this is all just glued binding, but now I thought it was glued binding. Now I'm not so sure anymore. But there is no eye. There's no eye popping out there. Let's focus on that. Like, normally you'd have an eye popping out to make things a little bit easier. Like I said, though, it lies flat. Like, even at the beginning, very beginning, I'm not having a really... Well, maybe, I guess, if I wanted to read some of the stuff on the side there, but that's just, like, numbers. That has nothing to do with actual reading. Not... right there, you get a little bit of gutter loss. A little bit. Not too bad. But I wanted to do a comparison of the art. Yeah, that seems like a good place. Let's find that in the comic. Yeah. So, as you can see, actually on the video, in real life, this is more vibrant. Also, the page difference, obviously. This is a lot more glossy. So that could be it. I'm looking at this, and it almost seems like I'm looking at the shadows here, right? Of the bicep of Sabretooth. And it honestly looks a little bit different. Like, look, it looks a little bit more rounder there. Like, this looks like almost more high def or something like that. Like, it's a little bit clearer. Like, you see that there's different shadows on that. I don't know. It just looks like this is more sketchy, whereas this is more cleaned up. I don't know if they actually did that. Like, even just looking at the chest. Maybe I'm just seeing things, but that's what it looks like to me. But that's the size difference. Like, on video, it's very hard to show that, but that's... There is a difference, and I much prefer the oversized hardcovers. That's a darn good issue. So there you have it. I'm still so confused with the binding. Like, I'm pretty sure that that's just glued. Because it's not giving away to an eye at all. Although I wonder if I kind of push that, I could maybe get an eye. I don't want to do that because I thought that this was glued binding. So there you have it. The House of X and Powers of 10 by Jonathan Hickman, oversized hardcover that begins Dawn of X. Excellent starting point for the X-Men right now if you want to get caught up and read what's currently out there. They've only just released, I think they're starting with issues 4 later on this month, in the month of December. So thank you all for watching. You have been bearded in. Beardage!